Hello. Welcome to the Sit on Metal podcast. The Sit on Metal podcast is a weekly podcast that examines the world of entertainment through the lens of local film blogs. I'm Thaddeus Ramov IV, and that is
Big Joe. And we're the new hosts of Cinema ATL. The previous hosts were let go due to an incident with Ryan Reynolds.
Let's not talk about that right now. Maybe we should just get on with it, right? Well, it's called Sit on Metal, right? It's not Sit on Metal?
Cinema ATL.
I thought it was Sit on Metal. Anyway.
Nah, dude.
Anyway. All right. Let's all right. April Fools, everybody. April Fools. Martin and I are still here.
Yes.
For real though. Welcome to the Cinema ATL podcast. The Cinema ATL podcast is a weekly podcast that examines the world of entertainment through the lens of local Atlanta filmmakers. And that's us. I'm Michael D. Friedman.
I'm Martin Kelly.
And those other guys were us. Surprised? We're such good actors. We are such good actors.
Yes. Probably fooled everybody.
I'm sure we did. And since it's April Fool's Day, on this episode, we decided to take a look at our top 3 movies about fools. These are films that have characters that act like idiots or play practical jokes or just generally silly films. So it's a little wide open, but we'll narrow it down to our top 3. But first, Martin, why don't you tell our listeners how they can help the podcast out?
Well, you can help the podcast out by listening to it on your favorite podcast format. And then while you're listening or after you listen, be sure to rate it, comment there, and subscribe at your favorite podcast format. And that includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, even YouTube and Google Podcasts.
Yes, and we also want to hear from you. You can always tweet us at CinemaATL or at my personal account at Badger33.
Or hit me up at Marte_real1.
And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram. It's at Cinema ATL Podcast, or, if you're Thaddeus Ramov, it's Cinema Metal Podcast.
That's right. And you can participate in sort of the interactive stuff we do there, and that's fun. We just came off our big Movie Madness tournament. Or you can, you can check us out still at cinemaatl.com.
Well, all right. Enough tomfoolery. Let's get into the top 3 April Fool's movies. Okay, yeah, so these are not necessarily April Fool's Day. Like, there's not a lot of April Fool's Day movies out there, so we wanted to take a look at just movies that are about, like, fools and idiots and jokes and stuff like that. So just a reminder that, our top 3 lists are just our opinions. We're not trying to come up with a definitive objective list.
Right. These can change at any time. These are just right now on the topic, like as if we were having the conversation in the moment, which we are actually, because we don't know each other's picks for this topic. So this is just what's going on right now.
We will surprise each other. But yeah, so the way we do it is we normally just read off our list first. We'll start with number 3. Each of us will name our number 3, then our number 2s and number 1s. We won't go into much detail. We'll save that for after we reveal our lists, and we'll talk about why we chose them. And then afterwards we'll give some honorable mentions, and then we'll wrap up. Sound good, Martin?
Absolutely. Sounds great.
All right. Metal podcast. All right. I can't keep doing that. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Good choice. Made my honorable mention list. Not on my top 3, but good movie. My number 3 is Step Brothers.
That's a funny one, for sure. Certainly you can't find too many more foolish than that. So that's kind of on my honorable mention list, but definitely a good choice.
So number 2 for you?
My number 2 is kind of hard to say because I've got a lot of affection for this character, but at the same time, pretty foolish. Napoleon Dynamite.
Ah, okay, yeah. Number two for me is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
No, definitely. That's I can see that for sure. For sure. That they've been playing a lot on cable recently, so uh, good choice in that regard. So it brings us to number one, and my number one, and I just think this has to be number one, and I don't know what yours is, but I'm gonna guess that it could be Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not my number
What?
one.
Oh, those are the biggest fools ever.
Yeah, and yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that movie, honestly. And we'll get into that a little bit, I guess.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's okay movie, but I don't have the love for it that a lot of people do. My number one is uh, different. It's Billy Madison.
Okay, I should have known. I should have known because I hadn't heard that yet, and I know you got a lot of fondness for that film. So
Right.
that's a good choice. It's definitely a good choice. Okay, cool. So I guess let's break it down. Let's talk a little bit about the choices, and I don't know where we should start. Should we start with
Why don't
Harold
we
and
start?
Kumar?
Why don't we start at the ground up? Yeah. Why don't we start at the
Yeah, yeah.
ground up?
So Harold and Kumar is just a fun movie, and these two guys obviously are complete idiots. You know what I mean? Complete
Hmm.
stoner idiots. But they're lovable, and the craving for White Castle, even though I'm not sort of a weed head like these guys, I could sympathize with craving White Castle or Crystal or any
Right.
fast food really munchies. Every now and then you really get the craving. So the premise is very fun, and the two leads are great. I love John Cho and Cal Penn. They're wonderful actors, and they do a great job in this film and even in the sequel. But this film is a lot better than the original. So
Right. Right.
just a fun day in the life movie with a lot of crazy antics, and certainly of its day, was certainly hit the spot in terms of humor.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie too, and Neil Patrick Harris definitely
Oh
his appearance
yes,
in it definitely makes it a classic. And but I do love the slacker stoner humor in it, and um, it didn't make my top three. I think just because I don't think they're truly idiots; they're just stoned, right? So,
right,
but
right.
I mean,
But
they do stupid
they're
things.
idiots because there's idiots because of that, because they
Right,
get under the influence and do really idiotic things.
right,
Uh, so it's kind of by default.
yeah,
The actual characters aren't idiots, but when they
right,
get into this stupor, it
right.
creates fools basically.
But it did make my honorable mention because it's got some classic stuff, and I love when they're at the beginning of the movie when they're leaving their apartment, and I can't remember, I think they just forgot their phones or something like that, and they're like walking down the hallway, and they're like maybe 10 feet from their door,
Right,
and they're like,
right.
"Should we go back and get them?" Like, no, we've gone too far.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean that's repeated to great effect later in moviedom with the end. What is it? This is the end. What's that
Oh, this
one?
is the end. Yeah,
Yeah, with Danny McBride, and he's gone too far already.
right.
That's even better, honestly. But it's that same trope about we've gone too far already.
Yeah. And like you said, the original is much better than the sequels,
I
because I
agree.
think
I
the
agree.
sequels get too crazy. Like there's
Yeah,
just the right amount of crazy in the original one, and it's
I
a little
agree.
bit more grounded
Yeah,
uh, and real. All right,
yeah. It's
my
grounded and real for sure.
I mean,
But yeah, I know
it's
what you mean.
more grounded and
Exactly.
real. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Um, my number three is Step Brothers. This film is just pure lunacy from start to end. Will
Absolutely.
Ferrell and John C. Riley are just hysterical together. The situation is just ridiculous. These two like idiot man childs that are like
Yeah.
suddenly become brothers and best friends, and uh, what they get up to is just hysterical. But the funny thing for me about this movie is it's not just them that are idiots in this movie. It's the other
Right.
characters too. It's like Adam Scott who plays like the evil older brother is like
Either
really
or. Yes.
it's really like
Exactly.
that, and Rob Riggle is right hand man. And it's just like it's just and the whole Catalina wine mixer. It's just
Yes.
ridiculous. And just, it's just, I don't know. It just cracks me up every time I watch it. It's just so many funny moments in it.
Did we just become best friends? It's
Yup.
awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. I agree. This is them at their best. I mean, they've kind of gone into areas that aren't as good, where they've
Right.
sort of used this trope a little too much. You know, this fool's trope, where they team up and both of them are out fooling each other.
Right.
I'm thinking about the Sherlock Holmes movie
Right.
in particular, but
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
that one was
perfect.
not good.
Yeah, this is
But the
perfect.
Talladega Nights was a good example of that.
Absolutely, no,
That
that's a
was
good one too,
yeah.
for sure. But I'm saying this
I
one
could have gone
is
with
even.
Talladega Nights too, but I went with the Step Brothers because it's just they're dumber than dumb.
Exactly. I agree. I think it's a good choice. It fits this category just a little bit more than Talladega Nights, but it's certainly a great choice in terms of this. So I guess I'll talk about Napoleon Dynamite. And
Hmm.
the reason I was a little hesitant about it. I mean, the movie's really fun, but I do think that he's a fool.
Hmm.
His brother is a fool,
Yeah.
and yet they come out on top in a loving way, in a sort of a heartwarming way. And so I think the storyline, and I don't know, it was such a big movie that I think people have sort of forgotten it,
Right.
over the years, even though it was so big at a certain point. But I still enjoy it, and the foolishness of, in it.
Right.
It's just um, so fun. You know what I mean? And like, his brother training to be a cage fighter. I mean, come on, that's one of the funniest lines ever.
And it was
Uh,
who Uncle Rico, I think is his name. Is that
yes, Uncle
isn't it?
Rico. Yeah,
He's an
yeah,
idiot
it's
too. It's like
talk
yeah,
about, yeah, he's surrounded by, like, as much of an idiot as Napoleon Dynamite is, he's surrounded by idiots too. So
God.
um just a funny movie. Just a funny movie. So
Yeah,
it made my
he's so
list.
like just a great character, just built
Yeah,
around
yeah.
a great character, and it's just so there's something like you said, there's a very like sweet nature about him that makes it work and makes it so charming, right?
Right, which is, it's like why I hesitate to call it a movie about a fool, because
Right,
he's so earnest, in his desire to do good in his own way, and be helpful in his own way. You know what I mean? So I hate to say it, that he's a fool, but come on, he's a fool.
yeah.
you know.
I mean, it's kind of similar to my number two. It's just Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I almost put Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey on here too because I like them both.
Sure.
But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is the original, and a little bit like kind of like the Harold and Kumar movies, a little bit more down to earth, even though it's about
Hmm.
time travel. Um, but what I love about it is it's kind of the same. It's like Bill and Ted are definitely idiots, but they're lovable characters, and they're very like they're good people, but they're just
Right.
dumb, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're very
Absolutely.
sweet natured
Absolutely.
by in general, and the fact that the movie doesn't make fun of them as characters, it makes them
Right.
you want to root for them and you want them to succeed. And another benefit of the movie is they actually that they actually learn a lesson in this film, which
Right.
some of these other movies that are around these types of things they don't necessarily do. And the fact that they succeed and it's a really kind of underdog story as well.
No, no, totally, totally. I loved the original Bill and Ted. Certainly a fun movie. And again, you're right. They're earnest. They're earnest characters, and as kind of dumb as they are, they're sweet and innocent and trying to do the right thing.
All right, so let's move on to our top films.
Yeah. So my top film, and I'm surprised that I didn't think you didn't like it. I wasn't aware that you weren't a fan. But Dumb and Dumber is kind of, to me, the upper echelon. I mean, Step Brothers makes a good case too, of like a duo, like a team of
Right.
really dumb characters. You know what I mean? And um, Jim Carrey and Jeff Bridges are completely clueless, completely annoying, really dumb characters, and yet again they share this sort of earnestness about them. That makes you kind of like them. You know what I mean? And their adventure is really silly and fun. So this made my number one just because it was the first one that even came to my mind when we
Right.
talked about the topic. So I don't know some classic lines in this, of course.
Right.
Uh, you
So
know,
you're saying there's a chance.
so you're saying there's a chance, which
Right.
is like really stupid, but yet so optimistic. I respect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't, I, I've grown to like this movie more than I did when it first came out.
Hmm.
I might have had Jim Carrey fatigue at that time or something like that. I didn't find it as endearing as annoying when I
Hmm.
watched it the
Hmm.
first time, and it might have something to do with that's a Farrelly Brothers movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, some of Farrelly Brothers movies like get a little too gross out for me,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I don't honestly I have not watched this movie enough to even remember like why I don't it didn't really connect with me, uh, but yeah, for some reason it just never did.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, again, there's just some classic funny stuff. It's not a great movie, like you mentioned. It's not a great movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's a lot of great moments in the movie, like when they're looking for the person. He doesn't remember the woman's name, and he's got her suitcase, and then he's like Swanson Simpson, and then he's like Samsonite. That's what it is. So yeah, it's just like yeah, hilarious moments in it. You know what I mean? But some
Yeah.
of it, like you said, some of it didn't really resonate. Uh, I agree that there are moments that they're really pretty bad, but overall, it won me over in terms of this category for sure.
I, I might need to go back and rewatch this one because it is so beloved by a lot of people that maybe I just need to give it a second chance. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes things like that do. If you look at them in a different light, and who knows what to say, what was going on when I when I watched it for the first time. We always talk
Right.
about how your mood can affect your enjoyment of a film, and
Absolutely.
who knows? I mean, like one of the films that I didn't put on my list that I thought about putting on my list was Anchorman, and that movie I did not like the first time I saw it, but I've grown to love it. So
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
never know. You never know.
Yeah.
So number one for me is Billy Madison. This is just one of my favorite movies in general. It's just so stupid. I mean, for me, it was like an obvious choice for me. It's so quotable, and just Adam Sandler being a
Definitely.
goofball. Back when Adam Sandler was funny.
Well,
He
I
still
mean,
does
it's not
some
that
good
he's
stuff
not. It's not that
occasionally,
he's
but
not funny, but
yeah,
yeah, there's a sort of I guess, a limitation on some of what he
right,
does these days. But
right.
yeah, I agree. He was sort of at his best. He was on his rise at that point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this was his first film, and then he did Happy Gilmore right after that, which is also kind of an idiot movie. But that's Adam
Yeah.
Sandler. That's what he plays, really. But the concept of this is so much fun, and just like letting Adam Sandler go nuts, surrounded by a bunch of kids. Like it's just like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
totally.
just recipe for a perfect disaster. It's like
Absolutely.
just and there's so many good lines in it. They're so quotable. I mean, I, the line when he's in the competition where the guy's like, gives this long thing like, at no point did you make anything anywhere close to a coherent thought. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Just like
Yes, yes.
just the sides like that are just hysterical,
Yeah,
and
very
the
funny.
whole shampoo is better.
Yeah. I love when
I
you do it. I love when you do it,
Shampoo is
actually.
better. I go on first and clean the hair. Oh, conditioner is better. I leave the hair silky and smooth. Oh, really, fool? Really? Yeah, it's like he's like, stop looking at me, Swan.
Uh,
Yeah, I could quote the entire movie, but pretty
Definitely.
much.
That's
There's even like great lines by
it's
not him though too. Like there's a line. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name who plays his rival in it. Bradley Whitford. Bradley Whitford.
yeah, Bradley Whitford. Mhm.
And they're like waiting for this meeting, and the other guy is like he's like, man, I wish to get started. I'm so hungry. And this guy's like, well, you should add some Triscuit crackers. I had some Triscuits in the car. And he's like, well, if I would have known that you had delicious Triscuit crackers, then maybe it's just like the way they like, it's just like so like petty and just like it's funny.
Right, right.
I don't know, just something
Yeah,
about the
definitely.
film. I just crack up every time I watch it.
Nah, that's cool. It's a cool movie. It's a cool
It's kind
movie.
of hard to
So
talk
yeah, yeah.
about like movies like these because it's just like if you like it, you like it. If you know, and then you quote it all the
Yes,
time, and it's just
exactly. These are not movies that can be objectively graded, honestly.
right,
It's like they're not good movies in the classical sense of movies, right? But
right,
you either like them and you buy into the insanity of these characters, or you don't. You know what I mean? It's that simple in these regards. So yeah, I mean it's this list, there's probably people with completely different than either of our lists on this, and that movies that they love just as much as we love some of these. So
right,
it's certainly not a objective. Uh, this is like one of the least objective lists we've ever done.
right. So why don't we talk about some of our honorable mentions? I mean, I had Harold and Kumar on my list, and I also mentioned Anchorman. I
Hmm.
also thought of Super Troopers, which to me that's not they're not as much idiots as they're just silly. Like, and
Yeah, yeah,
they're the pranksters. This is where kind of the prankster bit comes in,
right,
and
right. I
and
thought that might make your list, honestly, because I know
right.
how much you like Super Troopers.
I like Super Troopers a lot, and then one that I was surprised you did not have on your list was Idiocracy. Um,
Yeah, the reason I didn't put it on is because I don't consider the lead character a fool. Now everybody else is,
well, he's not.
but
Yeah, the lead character's not a fool, but yeah,
right. So I mean, I think that's kind of kept me from kind of putting it in consideration. So
he,
and then same with be like Office Space. Like Office Space, the lead character is definitely not a fool, but everybody else seems to be. You know what I mean?
right,
That kind of
right.
thing. So that's why those didn't really resonate for me. But what I did have on my list, like you mentioned already, Step Brothers was on my honorable mention list. Another Adam Sandler movie, a different one, was on my list, The Water Boy,
Hmm.
because it's a fun movie about a kind of a fool. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, and then when I first started making the list, I thought we needed to tie it exactly to April's Fools, so I put April Fool's Day
I didn't even know that
as
was
an
a
honorable
movie.
mention.
Is that a what? I don't even know that movie. There's a
Well,
movie called April
it's been
Fool's
done
Day.
twice. There's
Really?
two. There's one in the '80s, and then there's been a remake recently in the last couple of years, actually, and it's
Hmm.
basically a horror movie. It's basically a
Oh,
horror
okay.
movie, and so the pranks obviously go you
Right,
know, into another realm. And so the original is a solid horror movie, '80s though. You know what I mean? So
right.
it's like it fits totally in. So I kept it on my honorable mention list, even though I adjusted because I kind of got what it was afterwards. But when you first mentioned let's do April Fool's Day, I said, well, you got to put that one on there. So
Well,
you know,
yeah, I never heard of that one, and I thought maybe it was tied into those, like New
there ha-
Year's Eve,
no, they haven't. I
Mother's
don't think
Day, all those
they
things,
need
right?
to make that version too, because
Right,
that would be actually a fun one too. Probably better than New Year's Day
right.
or New Year's Eve or
New Year's Eve, yeah.
whatever
Um,
it is.
I had one more on my honorable mention list, and it's this one is a good movie, objectively a good movie, if you ask me. I guess so. It's
Okay.
actually subjective, but oh brother, where art thou?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
those three guys are idiots to the core. Even George
Y-
Clooney, who likes to talk with big words and
Yes,
stuff like that, is
yes.
an idiot in this one.
This totally should be at the top of both of our lists because it is objectively a really good movie. I mean,
Right.
or subjectively for both of us at least. And yet you're right. Those three of those main characters are complete fools for sure.
Yeah, I didn't put it. I thought of it later, and I thought about putting it on my list, but then I didn't put it on because I just didn't feel like it was like silly enough. Like
Was it
it's
wasn't
silly,
quite
but it's
yeah, it
not
doesn't quite catch the spirit
right.
of the rest of the films that we talked about.
Right.
I
Because
agree
Oh
with that,
Brother is
but
one of my favorite movies.
no,
So
it's fantastic film.
right,
Fantastic film. Absolutely. But it does fit, but I think you're right. I think I didn't even think about it in that regard just because of the nature of the other films that we talked about were so
right,
surround like fools and sort of treated in a different tone than that film. There's something different about that film's tone that even though they are foolish and it is funny, it just doesn't fit the same as like a Billy Madison or a Dumb and Dumber, you know?
right, right. Okay, so why don't we just recap what our lists were? My top three April Fool's movies are Number 3, Step Brothers. Number 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And number 1, Billy Madison.
Nice. And my number 3 was Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Number 2 was Napoleon Dynamite. And number 1 was Dumb and Dumber.
Well, what do you guys think? You have any opinions on what the best Fools movies are? Get us on Twitter or Instagram. Let us know. Or you can, go through Cinema ATL or Facebook or anything like that. So we'd love to hear what you have to think. And that about wraps it up for this week. I want to once again thank Eureka Failure for providing the music as they do every week. And before we go, Martin, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Well, yeah. I'd like to encourage everyone to stop reposting, retweeting, or resharing political memes. Fun memes, cool. But political memes are not really from real people. Most of them are published by political entities, and they're only interested in their own political interests and not human interests. So it's easy to repost something already prepackaged, and it may be something that you superficially agree with. But I'd prefer to hear your real opinion when it comes to politics. Create your own meme if you actually want to say something political. If it's important enough to express a political opinion, it's important enough to express your own. Other memes, have at it, please. I love Star Wars memes, Snoopy memes, sports memes, but political memes, it's just lazy.
All right. So, well, that does it for our final episode of the Cinema ATL podcast.
I'm serious.
Oh, April Fools. April Fools. I'm just kidding. No. I mean, those are very good points. I think, people need to, both sides do it. And it's like, why don't you come up with your own opinion if you're so vocal? If you want to be taken seriously instead of posting a meme.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying don't repost it.
Right, yeah.
Meme. Like, be creative and create your own meme, but let it be yours. Don't just repost the one that whatever political organization has put out there. You know what I mean? That's just my thing. Just because I don't think people put much thought into it. We talked about this quite a while back. We talked about people not putting thought into things. And I think this is one of the places there it actually is harmful, not putting any thought in it. So.
Oh, no, I totally agree. You got very serious for April Fool's.
I did, but on a lighter note, I want to say happy birthday to my nephew Elijah, because it's his birthday on April Fool's Day. So happy birthday, Elijah. I know you listen sometimes.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Happy birthday. And yes, this is the final episode of Cinema ATL podcast. We will not be back next week.
Come on, Thaddeus.
I'm just kidding. All right. Yeah, we'll just wrap up this episode, and come back in a fortnight, and that's 2 weeks from now.
Totally. Come back.
Come back next week.
Come back next week. We'll still be here.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our April Fool's episode, and be good to each other, and bye.